Okay, kids, this is a video of how you're going to complete your final assessment task, which is replacing the exam because the school board said there's going to be no exams. And as I wrote in the message today, it's based on a video and watching a chemical reaction and performing an activity based on that reaction and the observations you make. Now, since it's embedded in a quiz, that's good because you've all written quizzes on here before. You have an idea how to navigate through here. So what we're going to do, as always, when you work on a quiz, is you hit Start Quiz. There you go, Start Quiz. And an example comes up. Now, this is the video. It's a YouTube video. Now, this is the one I'm using. Yours is going to be different, or else I'd be doing the assignment for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to watch the video. But I think it would be really helpful if you had the video open in another window while you did it. So what you do is you right click and all of these options come up. And one of them is copy video URL. So I copy it and then I go here and I open up the video in another tab, right? Just in case you want to refer back to it. There's nothing wrong with that. So then you would watch this video. You can either watch it in the tab here, for example. So we're watching the video. You're making observations. Okay, so that's why it's important to have it open in another window. Here's the reactant, hydrogen peroxide. All right, and it's a clear liquid. So you've got to make sure you're making observations while you're watching the video. And you can always refer back to it if you've opened it up in another window or another tab. Really important you do that. Look at the bubbles being made. So I'm making an observation. There's bubbles being made there. That's a gas, right? Okay, so the first thing you do when you write this quiz is, yes, I've watched this video, true. And you get a mark for that. Next, question 2 says, describe the reactants before the reaction. So what I can do is I can type in here that one of the reactants was hydrogen peroxide, and it was a clear, colorless liquid. Now, oh, I better spell that right. Now, the video told us that there was another chemical involved. It was acting as a catalyst, so it's not really part of the reaction. So that's it. Next, the reaction. I have to describe the reaction. Well, what's happening? Bubbles are formed. Okay? What's the product? Well, they told us in the product. It's water is a product, and it's a clear, colorless liquid. So we'll put that in there. And I better learn how to spell, eh, kids? And what else was produced? Oxygen gas was produced. Maybe I should put and in there. And oxygen gas, which is a clear, colorless gas. So that's question 2. We're done. So let's keep on scrolling down. It says, what is the reactant? What's its name? What's its chemical formula? And there's a hint here. And the hint says, use the tools at the top of the answer area to create subscripts like the 2 and H2O. Okay, I can do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name the reactant. And the reactant is hydrogen peroxide. Well, I'm really having a hard time spelling today, or typing, I should say. Hydrogen peroxide. Now, that's the name of it. Now I need the formula, so I have to put H2O2. But that looks ugly. So I highlight the 2, and then here's where the hint said, use the tools. And look, subscript. Oh, look at that. Look here. Subscript. So I've named the reactant. I've come up with the chemical formula. Now it says classify it. Is this an element? Is this an ionic compound? Is this a molecular compound? What is it? Well, there's no metals in here. It's all hydrogen and oxygen. So this would be a molecular compound. There you have it. I think that still might be on. Yeah, let's get rid of that. There we go. Molecular compound. So we've named it. We come up with the chemical formula. We've decided it's a molecular compound, and we move on. And to question number 4, it says, what's been produced? What are the products? What are their names, right? What's the chemical formula? Is it an element? Is it an ionic compound? Is it a molecular compound, right? And there's a hint here. Look what it says. Same thing as before. Make sure you use the tool to put subscripts in. Well, let's answer this question. The name of what's produced. Well, one of the things that's produced is water. And that's H2O. But I'm going to fix the 2. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go over to here, make it a subscript. All right. And what is that? Is that an element? Is that an ionic compound? Is that a molecular compound? Well, water, that's a molecular compound because there's no metals involved in it. As soon as there's no metal, you know it's not ionic, and it's not an element. I don't find water on the periodic table. And what else was produced? Oh, oxygen was produced. Okay. Now, what's the formula for oxygen? Well, it's O2. It's one of those special ones, right? So we're going to make that a subscript. And then we're going to, we better get rid of subscript now, or else everything will be in subscript after that. And this is oxygen's on the periodic table. It's an element. So we have finished question 4. Look what question 4 said. Name it, give the chemical formula, and decide what it is, an element, ionic compound, or molecular compound. And we've done that for both products, water and oxygen. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's move on to question 5. Explain how your observations can be used as evidence that a chemical change has occurred. Well, if you remember in your notes, the production of a gas that was observed through the production of bubbles is evidence. There we go, fix that. Of a chemical change. So the whole idea here is I wanted you to remember that there was a whole list of things that, and you can find it in your notes, that, oh, if you see something like this, like the production of gas, like bubbles, oh, that's very good evidence of a chemical change, a chemical reaction has occurred. Good. Okay, next. Number 6, write a word equation for the chemical reaction using proper chemical names and notation. All right, so it was hydrogen peroxide. And then you might want to put an arrow in there, something like that. There you go. And what did it produce? It produced water, and then a plus sign, and oxygen. Okay, so I did the word equation, a word equation. All right, well, that's good. Now we want to write it out as a uh, chemical formula. All right, so hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. All right, because remember we did that way up here. H2, where was it? Up here, H2O2. Remember we did that, so we're using what we already did in this question. H2O2, and put an arrow, and it produces H2O, and then a plus sign, and O2. Now that looks horrible, so let's make these things all subscripts. There we go. Make that a subscript. There we go. Subscript. And a subscript. Perfect. So we've done B, right? The chemical formula, chemical equation, I should say, for this reaction. And it says a hint here. It's the same hint here. Use tools at the top of the answer area to create the subscript. Okay. And I gave an example also of what something would look like. So what else do they want us to do? Well, they want us to balance this. So in order to balance this, what I would do is I would copy this out. So I copy it, right? Then hit enter. Make sure I'm not in subscripts. That's better. And paste it. So here's my formula now. And I'm going to balance it, right? So I've got 2 hydrogen here, 2 hydrogen here. That's good. I've got 2 oxygen here, but 1 oxygen here, and 2 more makes 3. Well, I told you a long time ago, one of the tricks is make it even. So now I'm going to make it even. 2 times 2 is 2 oxygen, and then 2 more oxygen here gives me 4, which means I have to put a 2 out in front there. So 2 H2O yields 2 water plus oxygen, and that is balanced. So if you take a look here, I've answered A, B, and C for this question. Now, I wrote the word equation, I wrote a chemical equation, and then I balanced it. All right. Question 7. What type of reaction is this? Well, you get to pick from one of these, and it's decomposition. So pick one. I'm giving you the answers. You just pick the right one. Decomposition. Okay, thanks, sir. Move on. Question 8. Does the mass of the reactant equal the mass of the product in this reaction? And that's important lab setup. Well, what I'm going to say is the mass of the products and reactants are not equal. Now, what's B say? Explain why the mass of the reactants would or would not equal the mass of the products. Okay, the masses are not equal because oxygen gas was produced and it escaped from the test tube. If the test tube was sealed, the masses would be equal. And you've done your final assessment task, 8 questions. And then you would hit submit quiz, right? You would hit submit quiz, and off you go, you're done. And then later on, I would mark it. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you kids. You're not getting this reaction, or else you'd just be copying what I'm doing. you're going to have your own reaction to do, right? And have your notes out, have your textbook out, do some research on the reaction. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh no, you got to do it all out of your mind because I can't control what you do where you're seated. So if you want to use your notes, you want to use a textbook, you want to do some research on this particular reaction to help you answer these questions, that's fine. That's research skills anyways. So this is how we're going to be doing it. And then you would just submit the quiz. All right? No exam. We're doing this video lab-based activity instead. And if you still have questions on how to do this after you've watched the video, email me, all right, because this is not due until uh, June 10th. This has to be submitted by June 10th. Now, that doesn't mean we've stopped doing all our other learning. We're still in the optics unit, all right? And that's the instruction I have for my principal. We're still teaching, but it's time to let the kids know that there's this exam replacement. And I don't think I've made it too hard. I really don't. And I am here to help you if you need it. Okay? Thanks, kids.